Hello, everybody, and welcome back to 50 Shades of Tay. I'm Taylor Gonzalez, and my guest today is an award-winning entertainment journalist, and her new book, Your Favorite Scary Movie, releases August 19th. I am so excited to welcome Ashley Cullins. Ashley, how are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, well, thank you for being here. I really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to be here, and I am so excited to talk to you about your book, all about Scream, one of my favorite franchises of all time. But do you remember the very first time you ever watched Scream?
So I actually don't remember the first time, and here is why. I was 12 and I saw it on VHS for the first time, and we owned it. And so I saw it like a million times in that exact situation where I was just like sitting in my living room most of the time by myself watching this movie on a tape. So I remember the collective of times of seeing it when I was that age, but I can't actually remember the very first time. I remember the feeling, which was just like, it was unlike anything. It was so scary, especially to an almost teenage girl,
Mhm.
because, Casey Becker was just a few years older than me. And this was right around the time that caller ID was invented. So the idea of a stranger calling when you're home alone was just like truly terrifying back then.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I also don't really remember the very first time I ever watched it. It feels like Scream has always just been a part of my life, so I don't really remember a time without it. But I think it was something similar to it was on VHS, and I don't know how I had access to it as a little kid, but I did. And yeah, it's just one of my favorite franchises. And I think for me, what sets it apart from other horror franchises is the fact that it's also a murder mystery. It's not just, Chucky or Jason where you know who it is. It's a mystery of who's behind the mask.
Yeah, and you don't know why they're doing it.
Mhm.
And it's always different. And so there's a challenge and the first time you see it and trying to figure out who it is. And then even rewatching them now when I've seen them so many times, I will still pick up on little clues, little glances and, wording choices that you're like, "Oh, how did I not see that coming?"
Mhm. Yeah, completely agree. Um, Other than the murder mystery aspect of it, what about the Scream franchise makes it so special to you?
It's really relatable
Mhm.
for a movie about a serial killer wearing a costume, right? Like there is the fantastical element of the mask, but at the end of the day, it's about a person who snaps and is out for revenge for some perceived slight in some cases, and in other cases it's like a very tangible thing. But that kind of thing happens all the time,
Mhm.
right? So without the costume, obviously. And so there's a certain level of groundedness that comes with the franchise. And then also the fact that the characters feel more real.
Mhm.
You're not laughing at them, you're laughing with them, you're scared with them because they feel like fully realized people who exist in the same world you do. Because prior to Scream, in any of these movies, it was like all of these characters existed in a world where horror movies didn't exist, right?
Mhm.
Like, nobody who's being chased by Michael Myers is like, hey, I've seen this in a movie once. Like, this is kind of fucked up.
Mhm.
But in Scream, they do acknowledge it and it's baked into the story. And it's that meta element, that is a little bit of a wink and a nod, but also helps keep it real because they live in the same world we live in. And then the humor also gives you a break
Mhm.
from being scared. Like, I don't enjoy sitting down and being on edge for 2 hours straight. Like, I need to be able to like decompress for a few minutes here and there. And the Scream movies let you do that.
Mhm. The character of Ghostface has become iconic throughout the years, and now there's so much merch. Like it's crazy to think that there's, like the figures like I have or the little plushies or I even have a tiki mug. Do you have any Scream merch? And if so, what is your favorite item that you have?
Oh gosh. I do. I have this is one of the newest things that I just got is like
Oh
the
my gosh.
the neon like blacklight
Hmm.
pop is up here. And then I have a stab t-shirt that is really fun. And the book, I guess, is a piece of Scream merch
Hmm.
now, and I'm obsessed with the cover. Like I wish I could take credit for it, but I can't. Like I didn't do that part. And then one of my best friends, Katie, just got me a t-shirt with like the iconic picture of Drew Barrymore holding the phone that I am also recently obsessed with. And I've got like a coffee mug.
Hmm.
So it's become a recurring gift now ever since I started working on this. So there is Scream merch all over my house.
Oh, that is awesome. Yeah, I am growing my collection. My favorite piece I own is it's the box set of the vinyls, like the soundtrack, and it's like a blood red. So cool. I love having that collection on vinyl. But that purple Funko that you just showed, I was this close to getting it like a month ago. I was on my way to Yamava, which is a casino for my birthday, and we stopped at a Barnes& and Noble out there and they had it, and that was the first time I had seen it in person, and I didn't get it, and I regret it so bad because it's my favorite color. It's such a cool figure. So one of these days I'm gonna have to get it. But you did mention the cover of the book, and I absolutely love that cover. It's just so clever because it's the Ghostface face, but then made out of popcorn. Fits perfectly with the theme of the movie. What was your reaction the very first time you saw that cover?
It was interesting because there was this split second where I was like, popcorn? That's a choice. And then immediately I was like, but wait, that's like you see the popcorn in the movie before you ever see Ghostface, before you have any idea what is going on. And
Mhm.
then obviously, it being a movie and movies being inherently tied to popcorn, like it fit so well. And like my one note was it needs blood. Because when they originally sent it, like it didn't have any blood on it, and I'm like, you need to make it at least a little bit scary. So like that was my contribution, them adding the blood drips. I am obsessed, and the designer's name is Shannon Nicole Plunkett, and I followed her on Instagram as soon as I found out who it was because like it's perfect. I think it's
Yeah.
perfect.
It's a perfect cover, and I love the addition of the blood to it because it adds to the spooky element. So, how did you turn your love of Scream into a book? How did this idea come about?
So what feels like a billion years ago, but was really only four at this point, I guess. I pitched Hollywood Reporter. I was the senior business editor at Hollywood Reporter for almost 8 years. And I pitched them on doing an oral history for the 25th anniversary of Scream. And loved the experience of working on that. And I ended up splitting it into two pieces. There was the oral history, and then there was a piece on Wes Craven's legacy. Because while I was talking to people for the oral history, I was just sort of blown away with how they talked about Wes. And my now agent saw the oral history, and he had been mulling a Scream book for a long time, but didn't know who should write it. And after he saw the oral history, he saw the fifth movie, he decided to reach out to me and he cold emailed me and he wrote like the best email pitch I've ever read in my entire life. And I was super pregnant at the time. And it was such a good email that he convinced me to write a book. And I ended up doing the proposal while I was on maternity leave and finished the revise of it literally like Friday before I went back to work the following Monday.
Uh, that is awesome. So, for this book, who are some of the people that you got to interview that fans can look forward to reading when they check it out?
Oh gosh, there are so many people, and I know I'm gonna like leave out one of my favorites and feel bad about it later. I think it ended up being 85 people that I talked
Wow.
to. Not all of them are in the franchise.
Mhm.
Most of them are in the franchise, but the actor strike happened while I was working on this. So I couldn't talk to stars
Mhm.
for a few months. And so I leaned into sort of the more academic side of it during that period. And I talked to film professors and I was like, you know what? I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to reach out to some other people in horror and see, if anybody wants to talk about Scream, from an unbiased perspective, from just other people who love horror, who can talk about why this franchise matters and their opinions on it. And so I talked to John Carpenter,
Oh my gosh.
which was incredible. And, Eli Roth, also Michael Kennedy, Edgar Wright answered questions via email. Like it was great. Like those people were all so fun. And then within the franchise, obviously Kevin Williamson was the one person who I felt like I couldn't tell this story without. And I talked to him several times. He's like the nicest human being on the planet. So everyone is. That was the thing that like really surprised me during all of this is there are a lot of big personalities in Hollywood, but I talked to so many people and there was not a single asshole in the bunch. Like sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to
No,
say
yeah,
asshole,
you're
but
good.
like
You're good.
I don't know how people can be this brilliant and this talented and this nice. It was awesome. And so, Neve Campbell, also great. Matthew Lillard, Skeet Ulrich, Jack Quaid, and Mason
Oh,
Gooding, like lovely, lovely human beings. Parker Posey answered via email, which was a bummer, but like so fun that she participated. Same with Sarah Michelle Gellar. Lori Metcalf was one of the ones that I was really excited about talking to because that, talking about relatability in motives, like I feel like Mrs. Loomis is arguably the most relatable killer because you totally get why she did it. Yeah, it's her fault that her kid was in the state of mind to be doing the things that he did that led to his death. But you get it. Like she's out for revenge for her son. Um, Dermot Mulroney, like has been famous my entire life.
mhm.
So that was a really fun conversation and maybe not my entire life. He's not that much older than me, but it feels like forever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying. These are people who I have been watching on screen for a very long time. Matt and Tyler, Radio Silence, the
Oh,
guys who
so cool.
directed the new movies, Guy Busick, William Sherrick, the producer of the new movies. These people were just so generous with their time and energy, and they told the best stories. Like it was a blast. It was truly a blast.
Oh, that is incredible. I really can't wait to read what everyone had to say. You did mention Parker Posey, and I don't know if you saw this. I would say maybe a couple months ago now. She was being interviewed on a red carpet, I believe, for The White Lotus. And someone asked her about returning to the Scream franchise, and she said she would love it if they started turning the Stab movies into actual movies. Have you heard about that? And also, what would you think if that was something that were to happen?
It's so funny. Like, yeah, I saw that. Everyone wants to come back,
Mhm.
regardless of how dead they are, which I think speaks to like what a special experience it is working on this franchise. That, like Elise Neal, who played Hallie Sydney's best friend in Scream 2,
Mhm.
was like, Ghostface stabbed me and then ran away. Like, I could be fine. And so it's just like they could definitely do it if they wanted to. I don't know that they would, right? Because then it kind of gets into almost like scary movie
Mhm.
territory.
Mhm.
And that franchise was a sore spot for a long time.
Mhm.
And so I don't know that they would go in that direction, but like David Arquette floated the idea of doing like a Wes Craven's New Nightmare
Ooh.
version of Scream where they're playing themselves, which, is a fun idea and a way to bring back characters. And
Mhm.
I don't know if they would ever, you know, get that meta, but I'd watch it.
Yeah, no, I totally would watch anything that brings everybody back together. But there's someone that we haven't mentioned yet who's iconic when you think of Scream, when you think of Ghostface, Roger L. Jackson. And not only did you get to speak with him, but he's also the narrator of the audiobook. Can you just talk a little bit about how that came to be?
I'm still freaking out. Like, so Roger is great. He is also super nice. You're probably so bored of me describing
Oh my
people as
gosh.
nice, but like it's awesome. So when we started talking about the audiobook, he was the only person I thought of. And I was just like, that would be the coolest thing ever. Like, I didn't even have a backup idea. And when I finally got permission from Penguin to ask him, because they loved it too, um, I was so nervous. I had a follow-up call with him to talk about some things with like Seven. And there's nothing spoilery in the book, but there are things about Scream 7 in the book.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay, so while I have you, is there any universe in which you would consider narrating the audiobook? And he was like, this. I was like, yeah. He's like, yeah, I'd love to. Great.
Oh my
And I was just like,
gosh.
what? Um, yeah, it's really fun. I haven't listened to the full thing, but I like fast forwarded to some of my favorite parts of the book and some of the places where either Roger is being quoted or I'm talking about Roger because I'm like, it's gonna be so fun to listen to him have to talk about himself. And it's very fun.
Oh my gosh. No, that is incredible because if someone were to tell me who would you want, to narrate an audiobook about the Scream franchise, that's the only person, like you said, you didn't have a backup plan. The first person that came to mind. I think fans are going to be in for such a treat too. Oh, I have to be careful saying that word because my puppy got excited. But just to be able to hear that, it's such a special gift to the fans, and I can't wait to hear it and to read it. If people are interested in pre-ordering the book, where can people go to do that?
Everywhere. Pretty much everywhere. There is a list on the Penguin Random House website that links out to a bunch of different retailers. There is a list on my website. It's pretty much anywhere that you would like to buy books, from indie bookstores to the biggest of the big. And that is also very surreal and exciting.
Ah, so exciting. And if people want to follow you and keep up with whatever projects you have coming up next, where would be a good place to come follow you?
Instagram is, I'm other places, but Instagram is the one that I pay attention to because I
Mhm.
like to use it. So it's the one that makes most sense to give energy to. I do have a website, but it is on my list of things to finish doing with just a few other things right now. So Instagram is probably the way to go.
I will make sure to put links to your website and to your Instagram in the description of this video so everyone can come and follow you and see what you work on next. But Ashley, thank you again for taking time out of your day and congratulations. We're so close, August 19th. I can't wait.
Thank you.
Hope you have a great rest of your day.
You too.
Bye.